I'm Joelle from A Crafty Composition, and this is rock painting. So what is rock painting? It's a way to enjoy creativity while doing random acts of kindness. And that's why they're called kindness rocks. Let's take a look. Basically, it's taking regular rocks like you see here, painting them with whatever kind of design you like, and then adding a positive message either on the front or the back of the rock. There are tons of rock painting Facebook groups to belong to, and you can place that info on the back of the rock as well. Once your rocks have been sealed, it's time to set them free. Hide them along hiking trails, in libraries and waiting rooms, or in parks. I always keep a few in my car just in case. Rock painting is my therapy. I can get completely in my Zen mode, and it feels great. I also love the thought of someone finding the rock and having it make their day, put a smile on their face. Honestly though, it didn't start out that way. When I first started rock painting, I got so frustrated. I couldn't get the image or the idea in my head on the rock. You see, I'm a crafter, not an artist. I am not a free-flowing, spontaneous creator. I can't just plop out pretty. But I really want to make colorful, fun, cool, beautiful rocks. So I cheat, and I'm perfectly okay with that. Okay, now before anybody gets their knickers in a knot, let me say, painting rocks is an art activity, not a competition. I paint my rocks in a way that gives me creative satisfaction, and I hope you do the same. So let's talk about what I mean by cheating. Sometimes I pull a basic image off a coloring book and transfer it onto the rock, where then I can color it and embellish it. Other times, I use images off the internet. Last year, I was working with a group doing rocks for the local children's hospital. We wanted images from popular TV shows that the kids could relate to. So we printed these out, then traced and transferred them onto the rocks, painted them, and shipped them out. Sometimes I only need a portion of an image. Like in this case, I copied the heart and the hand, and then filled the heart with my own design. For today's project, we're actually working with independent art images. When I use independent artwork, I always make sure to add an extra sticker on the back of the rock that indicates who the original artist is. Most rocks are put out into the world anonymously, and the Facebook page listed on the back of the rocks is never a personal one. It's always for a rock painting group that you participate in. By using coloring books and computer images for my base rock design, I can get over my initial frustration and get on with painting kindness rocks I'm excited to give. Now let's take a closer look at the trace and transfer method. Oddly, your first step is to wash your rocks. I know some people who put their rocks in the dishwasher. I haven't tried this, but it sounds pretty smart. I do it the old-fashioned way, just a tub of water, some Dawn, and a washcloth. Your very first layer of paint is actually a primer. You can use a flat black or white acrylic paint or gesso. Make sure that your rock is completely dry before you paint it. For the trace and transfer method, you need an image, and it's helpful to know in advance what size image you're looking for. To help you with this, I've put a free printable image sizing guide on the Crafty Composition blog. There's a link to the blog in the video description below, or you can simply do a Google search for craftycomposition.com. Lay your imaging sizing guide on a flat surface. Match your rocks to boxes based on general size. This will help you determine what size image will fit on which rock. Now that your images are sized to fit on your rocks, the next step is to trace the primary outline of the image with a felt tip pen. Avoid the tiny details. You are just outlining the major components of the image. Like eyes, nose, and mouth, or the trunk of a tree are best added when you paint the rock. To transfer the image onto the rock, I use carbon or graphite paper. If you don't have or don't want to purchase carbon paper, there's another method of transferring using just a soft-leaded pencil. Check out my earlier trace and transfer video on this YouTube channel. Carbon paper comes in black, which I use on white rocks, and white, which I use on black rocks. I find it easiest to cut out my images and also to cut out my carbon paper, just slightly bigger than the image. So carbon paper has two sides, and you always want to put the shiny side down on the rock. If you accidentally place the flat or dull side of the carbon paper down on your rock, and then take the time to trace your entire image, you're going to be sadly disappointed when you lift it up and there is nothing there. So remember, shine is always fine. And now I'm finally ready to trace my image onto my rock. I'm going to make sure I put the shiny side of my carbon paper down. Then I'm going to take my cut out image and center it onto the rock the best I can. Finally, using a pencil or a stylus, trace over the felt tip pen markings you made earlier. Try to hold your image as still as possible on the rock. Part of an image is too small, or if I think I can easily add it on my own, I'll just put a little marker like a line that reminds me where that item goes. And there you go. Now you're ready to add detail and paint. Are you interested in a detailed list of my favorite rock painting supplies? If so, head over to the blog at acraftycomposition.com. Now that your main image is on your rock, you're ready to add some color. You can follow the original image or get creative and do your own thing. Of course, you can use just standard acrylic paint, but my favorite way to paint kindness rocks is using Posca markers. These markers give you the full coverage of an acrylic paint with the convenience of a pen. The tip of the marker is called a nib, and the nib comes in several sizes. The two sizes I use the most often are the fine and extra fine. The medium nib is good if you're painting larger rocks with big blocks of color. The next step is completely optional. In fact, I can't even tell you why I do it. Sometimes, before I color in the shape, I like to go over all of the transfer lines with a light colored Posca. I guess I just want to make sure I know where the transfer lines are. And now it's time to color. that's the first coat. Wait about 10 minutes between your two coats. That way you don't pull off the paint that you just laid down. On my second coat, I like to work in dimensional layers, background to foreground. So first the sky, then the mountains, then the snow, then the trees. This gives a little bit of dimension. Next, let's make this rock pop with some details and line work. The rock is looking pretty awesome, but I'd like to add another detail, a little glitter for the snowy mountains. But first, I want to mention the do's and don'ts of adding embellishments to your rocks. Basically, don't use 3D embellishments like buttons, gemstones, ribbons, or string. They can detach from the rock and cause a hazard to wildlife. Feel free to use any cool paint finishes or glitter glue like stickles. So there you have it. Using the trace and transfer method to paint my kindness rocks really helps me get over the artistic challenge of drawing my design freehand. From there, I can follow the artist's color scheme or let my creative juices flow and really make it my own. I'm gonna make a few more of these, and then we'll talk about the labels and the best way to protect your rocks with sealant. So now that I have several rocks painted, I can begin the process of applying the labels and protecting the rocks with sealant. It's kind of a production line of sorts. So there are a couple reasons I like to put labels on the back of my kindness rocks. First, I like to add a positive quote or message on the rock, just an extra feel good. Also, the label gives instructions on how to post a picture of the found rock on one of the rock group Facebook pages. There are about 4 or 5 different varieties of labels. They're available free to download at acraftycomposition.com. You will find them under the subscriber freebie page under rock labels. First, cut the individual labels out. To adhere the label to the rock, I use a gel medium. You can also use Mod Podge. It's not unusual for the gel medium to get a little thick if you've had it for a while. Scoop out about a tablespoon, add some water, and stir well. You're looking for a consistency like yogurt. Just a quick tip about printing your labels. If you're working with smaller rocks, you'll want to print your labels about 80 to 90% of full size. Okay, now that our labels are cut and our glue is the right consistency, we just want to apply a thin layer to the back of the sticker. And then a thin layer over the top of the sticker. Make sure your label is completely covered and all corners are stuck down. Earlier, we talked about providing a Facebook page and giving an original artist credit. This extra label is how and where you do that. Make sure your rock labels are fully dry before sealing your rock. Sealing your kindness rocks is really important. It protects your artwork from the elements, and it makes sure your label is fully adhered to the rock, so it doesn't peel off and become litter. There's lots of sealants out there, but my absolute favorite is Rust-Oleum Semi-Gloss Clear. Here's how to get a problem-free spray. Get a wide cardboard box with low sides. Punch push pins through the bottom so that the pokey parts are sticking up inside. Now rest your rocks, label side up, on top of the push pins. Spray the label side of your rock, let it dry, flip it over, and spray the top side. Because your rock is sitting up on the pins, your label or your rock will never stick to the tacky part of the box. That would be so tacky. I hope you've enjoyed learning about kindness rocks and the trace and transfer method. For more information about this video, different rock painting methods, and how to find a Kindness Rock Facebook group in your area, go to acraftycomposition.com.